put it on your chair if you want.
No. All right, let's get ready to get on in here and get deep tonight. Welcome to the Way of Mastery, and we have all the signs. We're really having a great class last week. And the purpose of this class is to let go of every block that we possibly have to letting ourselves have the joy and the love and the peace and the power that we deserve to have. To get in touch with the fact that we're not victims, we're more than what we were taught we are, and that we deserve love, we deserve to give it, and we deserve to receive it. And so this is a deep class. This is not a light class. It's not a class that's not going to be challenging. It is challenging because it really calls for us to take a level of responsibility for our experience that, quite frankly, most people don't want to do. But everybody's not at the same level of awakening. Everybody's not at the same level of consciousness. And so this is the people who are here tonight and the people who are supposed to be here tonight. That's the one thing I know about my classes is I never know. And that's okay, because I know it's all in divine order. So we're going to be on page 244. If you're here for the first time, just know that you don't have to believe nothing I'm saying. Okay, that's the only guideline. Is that simple enough? Okay. We got seats right in here, y'all, in this circle, which I would love to get those filled up first. I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
No worries.
Thank you. Thank you. So just remember, you don't have to believe the ideas. You don't have to accept the ideas. Some of the ideas you may find hard to believe. Some of the ideas might seem startling. But if you use the ideas, you'll see that the ideas work. And like I said, this is called, the name of this book is The Way of Mastery. And we left off at a place last week, which was on page 244. But I'm going to start out at the bottom of page 43. Now, the way that we do it is I cover about 10 minutes of lecture and teaching from it, and then I throw it open for discussion for about 5 minutes or so, and then I go forward with some more of the material in the book, and then we stop, and then we discuss it about 5 minutes or so. So there are going to be very specific times for questions. So I want to ask you to hold your questions until the question and discussion period, because if I say something that's particularly threatening to the ego, then that's when usually the question comes up. And that's cool. So see if you can remember that. And so that when it does, you won't be too surprised. How will you know when you finally gotten to the point that your mind is ready to wake up? Is where we left off last week. How can you tell when you're finally beginning to get your act together spiritually? When you're really becoming a person that's really loving yourself more conscious of your connection to Source, more free and secure in yourself, and you're getting in touch with the greater part of you, okay? Yes?
Just a guess that your day goes by quicker?
Yeah, your day would go by quicker from the perspective that you're actually enjoying it more. But here are the guidelines to that. Let me cover that right quick. It says that's why when any mind truly begins to awaken, it becomes more and more painful to continue certain thoughts or behaviors that do not reflect the deep desire of your heart. So when you finally begin to wake up and you want to really be happy, then you're going to find that it becomes more and more painful to continue to have certain thoughts and behaviors that don't really reflect what you really feel in your heart. You will not be able to continue to do things all the time that you don't want to do. The other thing it says is that this is why the gap becomes less and less, the gap of what? Unconsciousness. The gap in which the mind tries to defend its choices and perceptions until finally it rests in complete vulnerability. The mind lives in complete innocence and no longer, and please listen carefully, the mind no longer fears change within its thought system. So another sign when you're really ready to be happy is you will not be afraid to change the way you think. You will not be still so defending the way that you look at things, even though it's not really bringing you any really joy or peace. So when you're really beginning to wake up, you won't be more interested in being right than you're interested in being happy. You won't be defending your point of view, even though it's not bringing you any real peace. It's amazing how many miserable people defend the way that they think. Then it says the mind no longer fears being challenged by another mind because it thirsts only for the creation of a thought system that can birth forth the good, the beautiful, and the holy. So another way you can tell when your mind is really beginning to wake up to a higher thought is that you are not afraid of somebody challenging the way that you think, because the only thing you really want to do is create a way of thinking that brings more good and more beauty in your life. So you really don't care really what anybody else thinks, to be quite honest. Like anybody here could challenge the way I'm thinking right now, what I say, I really don't care. It doesn't matter that you challenge the way that I think. All I'm doing is going, how can I take what you're saying to me? How can I take this experience that we're all having, and how can I bring more of what's good and what's beautiful into this room? I'm not interested in challenging and debating. I'm interested in how much love we can share with each other. That's how you can tell when you're around a person that's trying to wake up. They don't care whether you challenge them. They're not going to defend themselves. Because if you believe in what you believe, you don't feel the need to defend it. If you really believe something, you don't feel the need to defend it. Because it's not vulnerable. It's not weak. Then it goes on to say, how else can you tell when your mind is really getting itself together? It says the mind no longer explains. You no longer defend. You're no longer seeking to convince. You know, when you start to wake up, you're not trying to convince. He says that what you do is you just abide and give yourself over to the stream of love that would flow through you. So I'm not going to explain. I'm not going to defend. I'm not going to convince. I'm just trying to give myself over to more love coming through me to you. Then it says if the mind is really beginning to awaken, every idea presented by another mind becomes something to live with, something to digest, something to see if there's a jewel within it that can add to the beauty of its own expression of the good, the beautiful, and the holy. Everything becomes a grist for the meal. So what does that mean? It means that when your mind wakes up and you're listening to anybody say anything to you, you're listening with what can I hear that's going to bring more joy and more connection and more love. What would be the jewel of what you're talking about? How could I join and connect with you? How can I learn from anything that you're saying? I'm looking for the jewels in what you're saying rather than looking for how I can fight and compete with what you're saying. Notice that what we're being told is how you can tell when you're really beginning to change your mind. So that would tell me that if I'm always feeling like I need to explain everything to somebody, if I always get upset if somebody challenges the way I think, if I feel like I need to defend the way that I look at things, if I feel like I have to convince, if I feel like I have to argue all the time about where another person's coming from, then I'm not awakening yet. I'm not really getting myself spiritually together yet. Also, it says there is no longer a need to be in defense. The body doesn't tighten. Somebody says something and all of a sudden you tighten up. It says the breath doesn't grow short. There is only vulnerability. Now, it used to be that word vulnerability wasn't something that most people like to hear. I'm vulnerable to you. But actually, it's the person that's the most vulnerable that's the safest. Because that's the person that's the most open to everything that's going on around them. So actually, that's the person that's most conscious. How can you tell when someone really loves you? They're not defended. They don't have a wall up. They are actually allowing themselves to be vulnerable. They are willing to take a chance. They are willing to take a chance. They're not holding back from you because of some experience or some relationship that they had with somebody else. You know, so you meet somebody new, they won't love you because they got hurt by somebody else. Well, you're not them. You're not the other person. So if you're in a relationship with a person who's dealing with you like you're the person they was with before, then you're in a relationship with a person who's in a relationship with somebody that's not there. They're not actually in a relationship with you. They're in a relationship with the person that's not there. People do it all the time. Okay, so why are you even interested in me if you're going to be all defended around me? Why are you even asking for my phone number, wanting to spend time with me when you got a bunch of walls that you want me to climb and go through in order for us to have a relationship together? When you begin to wake up, you get as far away from people like that as you possibly can. Because you don't feel like going through all the hassle and the drama that you're going to go through with a person like that. Just to get probably a person who doesn't know how to be affectionate, probably very lousy in bed, probably don't know how to be free or open. What's the point? You know, unless you're just ready to be a caretaker and you're trying to fix somebody. Why be with a person like that? Now, I'm not saying that you can't have some issues and some fears and some things that you want to go beyond, but you want to join with somebody who also wants to go through those things and go past those things by both of you having some kind of curriculum that you're both willing to learn together to go beyond the blocks, because we all have things we need to get beyond. But people tend to act like good relationships just happen. You know, I'm just going to happen to be walking down the street, and then the perfect person is going to show up. No, what's going to show up is the person that's the perfect match to whatever your patterns are, so that you can learn how to go beyond them. So that attraction that you feel is really the alarm going off in the universe going, perfect match, beep, 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 for everything you need to go through. They just showed up. And hopefully you'll enjoy some of the same movies. Now, but the truth is, you know, all your stuff is getting ready to come up now. Why? Because I'm physically attracted to you, and I wouldn't be physically attracted to you unless you were somehow plugging into my patterns. I'm turned on by you because of something I tell myself that turns me on. You know, that you see people that got a type. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a type of person they're attracted to. There's a look that they're attracted to. That has nothing to do with the person's thoughts. You know, it's like somebody telling me that they're in love with me because of my eyes. Well, I could have pretty eyes and be completely demented. Okay, so it's possible to have a sane person with pretty eyes. Sane people, I like to say, sane people have the same body parts as insane people. Okay, I swear they do. They have all the same body parts, you know. But many times people trade the sanity for what they think is the body part, as if everybody else don't have the same body. We're not dreadfully original in body parts. If y'all just think for a minute, you know, there's not a lot of originality. All of us seem to have 2 legs, 2 hands. All the guys, I hope, have the same appendages, and all the way around the room. So body parts are pretty common, but I know it's not your body part. They're not getting your special body part. And that's what makes the difference, you know. So what you do when you wake up, you're looking for a certain type of thought. You're looking for a certain type of mind. You're looking for a certain type of attitude. You're looking for a certain type of heart, more than you're looking for a certain type of body. Because people have a tendency to look beautiful when you love them, no matter what their body looks like. Mm-hmm. When you love somebody, they look real pretty. And then when you're mad at them, they look real ugly.
Yep.
Have you ever noticed that?
Yep.
Yeah. Have you ever thought you was in love with somebody, and then when you broke up and you ran into them, you said, "How was I even attracted to them in the first place?" God, you know what I'm saying? Did he always look like that? Yeah, and your friends told you, but you didn't see it, right? Because you would look at them through the eyes that, oh my God, I'm in love with you, and that's what's so cool about love. And you better think about that, because that's a good thing to know, because as your body changes, you want to be with somebody who sees you through the eyes of love, and not who don't need you to look like you did when you were 40 years old. I'm just being straight up, you know what I'm saying? You know, so, you know, the body is like an ice cream cone. It's melting every second. You know what I'm saying? So you better lick it while you can, is what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? And don't feel guilty about it either. Study the truth, you won't feel guilty about it. You know what I'm saying? All right. So then it goes on to say, I love it. It says, there is no longer the need. I love this. There is no longer a need to hide. There is no longer the need to be concerned with the perceptions of others. There is no longer a need to be concerned with the perception of others, since a perception cannot harm you. Now that's a good point. Now be with that. The way I see you can't hurt you. I could sit up here and think daggers about everybody in this room all night, and you would never feel any pain. Is that true? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you know, like we used to say to kids, what? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but what? Words will never hurt you unless you give them the power to. That's should be the other side of it. So you don't have to feel bad about nothing anybody says to you, because it's a perception, and perceptions can't hurt you. The only thing that can be attacked physically is the physical body. And if someone has not attacked your physical body, they haven't hurt you, no matter what they've said to you. You had to give what they said to you the power to hurt you. You know, and I got a lesson recently about that. Then when I realized, and I just look back through my whole life, we get lessons all the time like that. Of people saying stuff and us having the choice of whether or not we get our feelings hurt, or whether we learn to turn the other cheek, you know. Because if I set it up where everybody's got to talk a certain way in order for me to feel peace, I'm really setting myself up to be upset all the time. Like I know that people just freak out if people curse. You know, they just freak out if somebody curses. You know, so what are you going to do? Control all the cursing in the world in order for you to feel okay? You know, actually, you should get to the point that nothing anybody says disturbs your peace. If you want to have peace, but you have to learn how to do that. That doesn't come natural to us because we've been programmed to give everything meaning and get upset about everything. You know. The other thing it says here is there is only. This must be National Siren Day. I have never heard so many sirens in this part of town as I've heard today. Seriously, it's been a trip. And I'm giving that all the meaning it has for me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So even if you have a feeling and you find yourself bothered by something, still as quickly as you can do what I did. Go, oh, I'm the one that's making myself bugged by the sirens. Then the siren has actually helped me become more awakened because I use something in the physical world to remind me of the truth, right? There is only such love of self that nothing less than God will do. That's another great statement. You get to the point that you love yourself so much that you just won't put up with certain things anymore. You just won't deal with it. Like I have my deal breakers, as I call them, and that's it. If you got this attitude with me, I'm done as far as thinking about getting in a special relationship with you. Not that you're bad, but I don't have. I'm not going to accept less than blank. All right. So let me throw it open for a few minutes, 5 minutes or so. Any questions or any comments about what I just went over and reviewed? Any agreements, disagreements, ahas? Any questions?
Lots of ahas. It's all great.
Okay. Yeah. Share the ahas. It's our time to share.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. Anybody?
Okay. What about? So you're saying we can think badly about. Say I'm thinking bad thoughts about somebody in Florida, right? So I'm thinking of bad, they're bad, and you know, there's a lot of
Florida. Yeah, Florida's been getting a lot of bad thoughts.
Yeah. So that's where. Yeah. I got family there.
Yeah.
So a lot of more metaphysical people will say, you know, that we can be affected by negativity, you know, even though some scientific people say energy is just energy, you know, and it is what you make of it. So how is that different, like, when they go, oh, don't be around them, they're so negative, they'll bring you down, or they'll, you know, where you have to protect yourself from those negative thinking people, you know. But then if none of that can really hurt me, if they can, the only way they can hurt me is to physically, you know, slug me, you know, then can you explain the difference?
Okay. This is what I was hearing, what I was told. If I'm trying to change my mind from being a person who tends to be more negative, quote unquote, which means I give myself thoughts that give me a lack of peace, okay? And I'm trying to get out of that habit, and I'm still around people who are being that way, then I'm more willing to allow them to affect me. It's still me, but I'll have more of a tendency to join in because I'm already predisposed to be that way.
Okay.
You follow what I'm saying?
I do.
So you would avoid people like that until you had changed your mind enough that you would not be affected by what they think. Then you could be around anybody and it wouldn't affect you. Okay, that's what I used to admire my born-again Christian friends for. No matter what they were doing before, when they became born again, they would pretty much get everybody out their life that did not believe the way that they believed. Why? Because it was easier for them to go into the newer thought system if they weren't constantly being presented with the temptations of the way that they used to be. But then once they get strong in their thought system, then a lot of times they go to the other extreme where they feel like it's their duty to come into your experience and try to get you to look at it the way they look at it, whether you want to. They feel so strong, they feel like they could go door to door and get people. And to me, I admire people that got that. I mean, that wouldn't be my way of doing it, but it takes guts to go knocking on somebody's door trying to get them to get into what you believe.
It does.
And be willing to deal with all the different reactions that you're going to have. For you to have that kind of faith in what you're doing, I admire that. Because I don't see that a lot sometimes with us good new age folk. You know, I don't see that a lot where a lot of times we'll stand up for what we believe regardless of how we look to anybody else. You know, Because why? Because we already have a lot of that same old programming too. So part of us think we out of our freaking minds.
Mm-hmm.
So, haven't really accepted it 100% for ourselves yet, let alone go talk to somebody else about it. I'm still arguing with the idea that I create my reality, that I'm not a victim. So how am I going to be strong going out there talking to somebody else about it? Because I doubt it. But if I didn't doubt it, then I would share my thoughts with the person like you would offer a person a cup of tea. Oh, this is the way I look at it, and it's okay if you accept it and if you don't. But you asked me what I thought, this is the way I look at it. And it's okay that you don't agree with me. You don't have to. I'm okay. So I hope that kind of helps. Yeah, how vulnerable you are to buy into it.
Okay.
Which should make you, because the truth is, you still don't have to buy into anybody else's negativity.
Okay.
Yeah, especially if you're willing to own that it's also a reflection of some part of your own. You know what I'm saying? Oh, thank you for making me aware that there's some part of me that really gives this power. How do I know that? Because I'm getting upset about what I'm hearing you say, which means I must be giving it some kind of power. So maybe I need to take a look at some thoughts I have that maybe I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, anybody else before we go on? That's everybody's high school.
Yes.
All right then. Well, let's go on then, shall we? It says, so again, this is good. So again, in this lesson, we speak on the theme of desire. We seek to bring you to the point of realizing that desire is the great power of creativity. Bam, I want to stop right there. If you don't really desire it, you're not going to create it. So if you're asking for stuff and you don't have no juice behind it, forget it. Now, that's not the same as being attached to the outcome. Can you completely desire something and then let it go? That's the key. Can you really, really want something and then just let it go? Which means you're trusting. Then it says, it is that which births your very experience. Okay, so the experience you're having right now is the result of your desire. Your desire is perfectly free. That desire, that power to desire is within you, and you'll never be without the power to desire. It's impossible to be desireless. Since you can only find yourself to be where you have desired to be. So would you like to empower yourself quickly tonight? Say, where I am in my life right now is exactly where I desire to be. That the relationship I have right now is exactly the relationship that I desire to have. That my financial situation is exactly the financial situation I desire to have. That my health is exactly the health that I want. That my state of mind, see, that's the challenge. Because the ego part of the mind would love us to think that we're constantly having things happen to us that's not our desire. That's how you keep out of your power. Most people will not say that. They won't go, the truth is, there's exactly as many people in my class as I desire. That I look exactly the way I desire to look. That I'm driving exactly the car I desire to drive. That I live in exactly the city I desire to live in. And people are treating me exactly the way I desire to have them treat me. That's how you get out of unhappy situations. Wow. Even if you are in deep and perfect silent meditation, you are in meditation because of your desire. Therefore, beloved friends, please decide this day to take responsibility for what you desire. Recognize that what you desire will be what you experience. Recognize that what you desire literally creates the pathway whereby you experience heaven or hell, which is peace or turbulence, love or fear. In each moment of desire, right where you are. Didn't say in each moment of desire where I was yesterday. Didn't say in each moment of desire where I will be tomorrow. It says, right where you are, you have just birthed an entire world. I bet you that's a hell of a label, isn't it? You just gave birth to a whole world. Yeah, a whole world of your perception. You're giving birth every moment to a whole world of the way you see things. See, we think we're all looking at the same world, but we're not. It's funny, we all sit up and think we're looking at the same world, but we absolutely are not looking at the same world. We're all looking at the world that we desire to see. And it's not the same one. There's literally as many different Earls as there are people that's sitting in this room. And each one of you will have the Earl you desire. And that's the way, all the way around. One way you can test that is you can take what you see as the same person and you can watch them appear to treat other people differently. Like they treat somebody different than they treat you. Why is that? Why is the same person that you can't hardly stand, that same person seems like they're completely okay with somebody else? It's because you're getting the reflection out of them that you desire. Your mama is being the mama you desire. Your father is being the father you desire. Your boss is being the boss you desire. When I worked for the phone company, when I got hired, I had to supposedly the most racist boss that you could possibly have in the whole phone company. And I was in the very first crew that they ever hired of color to work at the phone company in outside installer repair. But up to then, you could only be a janitor or something like that. And I supposedly had the most hard-nosed person you could have. But I was also just got into metaphysics and new thought. We were saying is my thought would determine what kind of relationship I had with my boss. And so I was really seeing in that I could see him different and I would have a different one. So to make a long story short, he was the one who recommended me for promotion. And I ended up being the first person of color in the whole city that was in a management position. The very guy that was, but I came to work every day and I looked at him as being me in a white body. That's why I look at people. I look at people as if they're me in another kind of body, whether it's male or female. So I didn't come there with the idea that he was my enemy and he was opposite to me. And then I did the thing that was unthinkable. I would say ridiculous stuff like, when they'd be like passing down some new rule that upper management had come up with, and he had to pass it on to us. And I would say, I know that you didn't make that rule. You know, how can I support you in carrying this out in a way that works? That's not what bosses hear. They hear people bitching and moaning about everything that's just happened and then projected on them in anger. You know what I'm saying? And so he would sneak around behind all the other guys in the crew to make sure that they was doing their job, right? And then he would come to see me and I would be doing what I was doing, and after a while he stopped coming around at all. Then I could do whatever I wanted to do, right? Same thing when I was a kid. I said, oh, if I obey my parents, then they give me more freedom?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I watched my friends disobeying, being rebellious, and getting less and less freedom. And I would go, oh, you want me in by 10? All right. I do everything in the world before 10 o'clock. Right? Then y'all know what I'm talking about. Don't pretend like you don't know. And then they would go, okay, you got more freedom. And then you got more freedom, and you got more freedom. You transcend the rules by obeying them and going beyond them, by realizing that they don't really block you. So that's what I'm saying here. It's like we don't have to fight that I'm responsible, accept that you're responsible, and then you transcend the victim consciousness that creates all the pain that we go through. Right? So then it said, therefore, beloved, because it was okay. Recognize that what you desire, live to create. In each moment of desire, right where you are, you have birthed the entire world. Far out of that desire, you will create your perceptions of everything from yourself to the farthest of stars, all in a split second, a moment of timelessness. Part of the journey, then, of the way of transformation. And this is called the way of transformation. Like there's the way of mastery. And this section is with how do you master transformation? Because people are always saying they want to change. And this is like the master of transformation. He says, well, part of the journey then of the way of transformation is learning to transform your lived experience so that you enjoy your lived experience more and more. So what do? You transform your life so that you enjoy it more and more, but are attached to your experience less and less. Interesting. I'm enjoying my life more and more, but I'm less attached to the experiences I have than I ever have been in my life. I'm more willing to let an experience come, have it, and go. Let a person come, have them, and go than I ever have in my life. So I want to have a life I enjoy, but I'm less and less attached to the experience. One of the best analogies that you could use is when you say, how would you play a song if you didn't let go of one note to play the next one? We wouldn't hear any music on the radio. So suppose the musician was attached to the note A. So here he goes. It's us. That's
Is that
us.
really an A?
Yeah, we just hang on to the note. We just, whether that note is the person, whether that note is a habit, whether that note is a job, whether that note is, you know what I'm saying? We grab hold of stuff and then we go, instead of da, ba, ba, da, ba, 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 ba. So you might be on the fifth note of your song, and yet you think you can't have a relationship that lasts. You up to note number 5 of the song of your experience of relationships. You follow what I'm saying? Like if you want your life to be exciting, you have to get to the point you'll let people go as quickly as you would invite them in. If you really see a relationship correctly, when it ends, you will celebrate. If you see a relationship correctly, when it connects and it happens and you first connect, you celebrate. You just as much celebrating because me and you got together as I'd be celebrating if you left. Because I would know that that just meant another note to the symphony of my life is getting ready to come. That's the way a conscious being looks at it. So conscious beings look like they're unfeeling to unconscious beings. You know, you follow what I'm saying? If you were with someone and you couldn't manipulate them through any kind of anger, any kind of guilt, and they did whatever they really wanted to do, the average person would say that person didn't love them. They wouldn't say they did love them. They'd say, you don't really love me. You don't care what I do. No, because I love you, I don't care what you do. If I didn't love you, I'd be trying to control everything you do. So if you're a controlling person, pray to never meet a loving person. Because they will drive you bananas. Because you won't be able to run any of your games on them that you can run on people who believe they're guilty. When you're dealing with a person that believes they're guilty, you can manipulate them all day and all night. You just get angry, and you get mad, and you call them selfish, and they'll cave. If you're dealing with a strong person that loves themselves, you try that crap with them, they won't attack you, they just won't do what you want them to do. They'll just do what they still want to do. But they would ask you, what can we do to work this out that both of us can win in this situation? But I'm still going to really do what I really feel is right for me, but maybe there's a way we can work this out that both of us are happy. So you can scream, and you can yell, and you can tell me I'm no good, and you can tell me I'm bad, which, by the way, doesn't exactly make me really want to continue to be in this relationship with you anyway, actually. Who wants to be with somebody that's seeing them that way? Well, a guilty, insecure person. Was hanging there for days. Years, by the way. I have done it. I have done it. I have looked back at relationships and wondered how in the hell did I stay with them as long as I did. And the voice says, well, because you were freaking out of your mind. The voice for God said, you are nuts. That's why. Innocent, cute, but totally crazy. Okay. Because in this world, you know, if you don't say anything and you look good, you're going to have a relationship opportunity. Right? Let's face it. I've seen many of men who have had friends, women friends, who were ready to jump their bones as soon as they saw them walk in the door because of how they looked. Go, woo! You get seated. You know what I'm saying? I was never one of those guys. But I had friends that were like that. And it used to blow my mind. You know, I'd be working hard to try to get them to know me and like me. And I'd be nice. And I'd be kind. Then my buddy walk in, it's like panties flying. You know what I'm saying? So it's like...
We've all been there.
Yeah. That happened to me one time. I was doing a workshop. Somebody threw some panties up on there. But anyway, they must have thought I was Tom Jones or something. I don't know. But the point that I'm saying is that in the world of unconsciousness, it's all about how you look. It's all about appearances with unconscious minds. It's not about the content. It's not about where you're coming from. It's not about the kind of person you are. It's how you look, what you have, your prestige, your status, what they can get. You know what I mean? So sometimes getting yourself to the point that you can attract people who don't know how to love isn't maybe the best thing that can happen. So as you become more physically attractive, as you define physically attractive, which people happen with people when they're working out and all this stuff, it really calls for you to have a lot more discernment, because you're going to have constantly having people coming up to you trying to give themselves to you to get something from you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's uncomfortable if you don't really know
It's
how to
harmful.
handle that. It's a trip. One day I'll have that problem. So, anybody relate to what I'm talking about? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And so it's so the temptation is to take advantage of that. You know, the temptation is also you have to stay in integrity, or you'll try to take advantage of the people who are drawn to you because of what you have and how you look. I used to be good friends with a multi-millionaire, and it used to amaze me. I learned so many lessons hanging out with him, because it would be as different as night and day the way women would treat him before they knew who he was and afterwards. It was the strangest, not just women, everybody. You know, we would walk into a club and there would be no room in the club, nowhere, tables, nothing. And then as soon as the word got on, I would see tables going over the top of the crowd. And next thing I know, we would like be sitting ringside. You know what I'm saying? So it takes a lot of spiritual strength to see people reacting like that on a day-to-day basis for you not to let your ego go absolutely insane, crazy. Because you see the power that money has over people. And I saw that firsthand, and it tripped me out, how people would sell their souls for money, or what they thought. And you know what to be the main thing that they would throw at him first? Their bodies. That would be the first gift that would be laid at the altar. The court says to make the sacrifice. I'm going to sacrifice my body. Guess what? You can have my body. But if 1,000 people are offering you their body, it's not a big deal. So they're the person that's offering you what they think is their greatest treasure. It's their body. And it don't mean nothing to you at all. So then you have to be conscious enough not to want to take advantage of that and just throw them away like tissues. So when we say we want power, money, fame, any of that stuff, we don't realize that we are asking for the supreme spiritual growth challenge. You know, for anybody to be on the spiritual path in the United States of America is a tremendous achievement in a materialistic culture like we have. But that money is God. That anybody would come to a class like this is phenomenal. Because this is not the culture that we're in. We're not in a culture that makes God, spirituality, and stuff like that the primary focus. It's power, money, and fame.
And sex.
Yeah, absolutely. Sex, number one. That's everything gets sold. So, do you know all that stuff gets thrown in when you really go for your spiritual purpose? Do you know that everything in the world gets thrown in as for you to enjoy if you want to? But once you start to wake up, if you attract somebody who loves you and you really love them and they're really connected to you and you're really connected to them and y'all feel trust and y'all feel connected, do you think for a second that if it was appropriate, that person wouldn't be affectionate with you, that person wouldn't be loving with you, that person would be sensual with you or sexual with you or speaking, touching you or holding you? That comes with love.
Yep.
So you don't have to go after it. It's going to come with love, and so you don't have to make that the goal. It's going to come anyway. But the goal should be what kind of mind you got. Are we going to use each other to wake up? Are we going to really use each other to grow? That should be the goal. The body's going to be thrown in if the connection is there. Wow. Woo! So then it says, part of the journey then of the way of transformation is learning how to transform your lived experience so that you enjoy it more and more and are attached to it less and less. And guess what? Don't fear your experience at all. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine going through the day being completely unafraid of any experience you're going to have?
It's hard to imagine.
But you know what, brother? It's not until we start to imagine it that we're ever going to have it.
Yeah.
And most people don't even dare to think of a day that they totally enjoy,
Yeah.
100%. You know, as a matter of fact, it's hard to even stay conscious when a person is talking like I'm talking. It's so far into the average person's experience that it's even hard for the average person to even hear what I'm talking about. So, beep. Questions, comments?
Earlier when you said if we were able to show, to feel gratitude for where we are in this moment, I ended up with yes, but, and I was thinking that I want to grow more, and so how can I seem or express satisfaction with how things are now? But then I thought, and maybe this is just mind games, so I would like some enhancement on this, that part of what I am in this moment is somebody who wants to transform even more.
Mm-hmm.
And I can be grateful for that, but it seems like we were just about to get to a place that said, okay, there's right now, and being grateful, satisfied, acknowledging that it is what you desire, and then transforming to, moving beyond, and I'm like, I want to hear that.
But that's all I've been talking about, actually.
And I'm probably not hearing.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's okay. Because the answer is different from what we are looking to hear. And what we were just told is that when you can allow yourself to be not as attached, when you stop trying to defend, when you stop trying to convince, when you're no longer being concerned about what another person thinks, when you realize that it's your desire that's creating your experience, and you say, I'm the one that's creating everything that's happening to me through my desire, those are the steps to the transformation that you're talking about.
Do I have to reach for more, or does that just, do I have to go beyond that in some,
Go beyond what?
raise my expectations or something, somehow change what I desire?
Yes.
And that's what I'm wondering.
Yes, because me saying that what I am experiencing right now is the result of my desire, then if it's not something that I'm giving a meaning that gives me joy, then I need to be willing to change my desire.
Oh.
Yeah, because it's still my desire that's creating it, right? So if I'm having, for instance, a relationship that is bringing me no peace.
And so recently, what I've been saying is I haven't been defining that desire.
Right.
What I've been saying is, Holy Spirit, you decide for me, and that's as far as I go.
No, that's a great place to start. Is asking the Holy Spirit, which is your higher self, to decide for you. The error that many people make is they'll say they have something that they want, and then they say, Holy Spirit, decide for them, and then if it doesn't happen, then they think somehow or another the decision hadn't been made. In other words, I'm saying I want a car, for instance, and I'm saying Holy Spirit, decide for me, and the car doesn't happen, and so I'm upset. Well, actually, the Holy Spirit did decide for you. It wasn't time for you to get a car. So you really got your answer, or whatever. My point is, every time, just because I ask God for something doesn't mean I'm going to get what I think I want. I'm asking God so that I can have what's the best thing for me. And what's the best thing for me isn't necessarily what I want. As a matter of fact, it's almost never what I want. But to be absolutely honest, because when I started to tell Holy Spirit to decide for me, was when there was a mark dropping me receiving anything I was asking for, because most of the things I was asking for really wasn't really good for me and helpful for me.
Yeah.
So, beware when you ask Spirit to take over. It certainly doesn't mean you're going to get your fantasy. In most cases, it means you won't, because you're trying to, you've come up with another way to hurt yourself. It's like a little baby saying, please give me sharp scissors. Please give me sharp scissors. And then the little baby says, Holy Spirit, decide for me. Well, the Holy Spirit, the higher self, is not going to give you the scissors, because you hurt yourself with the scissors. And most of us have scissors of love life, a scissor financial situation, a scissor career, a scissor attitude. You know what I'm saying? It's like we asking for scissors all the time. They just don't look like the scissors we think they look like. And then you see somebody and go, oh God, let me have her. I really want her. And then it doesn't happen. That was a really shapeless scissor that you just really want. Or you see what I'm saying? Like the once you start giving it up, you have to start accepting that what doesn't happen is in your own best interest. But here's the cool part though. The things that do happen, you should enjoy as much as you possibly can, because you'll know it's happening because it's meant to happen. So you shouldn't hold yourself back because you ask, it showed up, it means it's cool. Let yourself do what? Love it. Love it. Because if you love it, you're not going to want to hurt yourself through it, and you're not going to want to hurt anybody else if you love it. If you don't love it, that's when you hurt yourself through it. If you don't love it, that's when it means for somebody else to be hurt. You can't really love anyone and be hurt by them. That's deep, isn't it? Because we think that some of the people who hurt us the most have been people that we thought we loved. And that's not true. That's not true. Love never hurts. Fear does. Fear hurts. You know, and so most of us, he says, what we think is love is really fear. And that's how we get hurt in our relationships.
I haven't been necessarily asking for anything, but I have been asking to see myself as not a victim, as not, and then thinking that's okay. Please show me the way to seeing.
Again, which is exactly what I've been covering.
Okay,
which means your prayer is being answered. It literally is being answered. You say, I don't want to see myself as a victim, and then I'm covering a whole section about how you're not a victim, that you're the one that's creating it. So you're really getting exactly what you were requested, which is great, really. Yeah, bro.
Let me throw something in that might help you, because in my experience with this, when you ask the Holy Spirit to take over, there's a cleaning out process. Cleans out your fantasies, cleans out your expectations. So there's that doldrums area, and that's kind of where you're at right now. You're like, well, how come I'm learning this stuff and I'm asking the Holy Spirit to be in charge, but I'm not getting my stuff? Because it's got to clean out you got to clean house first. I think once you get okay with getting nothing and being okay with it, then you're free to get what the Holy Spirit wants for you.
Recently, I
clean house
changed.
first.
Recently, to add to what you're saying, I changed everything about the way that I eat. I went on pretty much a total green juicing. You understand that means Earl has died. You are now, I was real man. So, my body feels better than I've felt it in 20 years.
Good for you.
Now, first I had to read everything that the Course said about reperceiving your body and changing your perception of your body. Focused on that, then changed my diet as a symbolic gesture to show that I was willing to receive what I was asking for. And that's what many people leave out. They just ask, but they don't do anything physical. It's like saying, I want to get all the benefits of this book, but I'm never going to buy it. I'm never going to read it, and I'm never going to study it, but I want all the benefits of it. So reading the book for me is symbolic of my willingness to learn the thought system, right? So when I first started doing it, there was a period, and at first I didn't know what was going on. I felt like crap. I felt 10 times worse until someone said very matter-of-factly, you're detoxing. And I forgot about that. Now, so what happened? I had to get the purification. I had to get the purification, get the stuff out of my body that was in my body. Well, the same things happens when you say, I want to be spiritually enlightened. I want to be a lot more loving. I want to have a life that's really beautiful. Well, you're going to do a spiritual detox. You're going to do an emotional detox. All the crap that you think about yourself that's deep inside of you is going to come up to be released. And if you don't understand that, you will swear that because you got on the spiritual path, it made your life worse. Or because you started studying this stuff, your relationship went to hell. That's the best thing that could ever happen to you, that you detox that relationship right on out of your life. Or you got laid off and you detoxed that job you hated anyway. And so now it's gone so something better can come in. So you are going to go through a spiritual detox, a consciousness detox. when you say I want abundance, you're gonna see how crappy you are at handling money and prosperity, and and how horrible you are with your lack thoughts before you go to your abundant thoughts. So just be ready. When you ask for anything, you're gonna get the opposite that needs to be let go of. So you fall in love with a person and you say, I love you, and then everything that's not love comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't understand that, you'll break up instead of going, oh, this is the stuff that's getting in the way from us having the strongest relationship we could ever have. So let's not break up right now. Let's practice the truth and forgive each other right now when the stuff comes up until we forgive it on out of the way. That's what you do. That's what you do. Yes. Yes, darling. You're doing good for your first time. I know you just thought you were just coming to a little regular little thing.
It's not a little thing. So I just want to say that like I have this tightness in my chest right now, and I'm naming that like I'm really nervous to say this and speak
That's
it.
no problem.
So I have to because I'm not present.
That's right.
I'm picking little things
And
up
you
in the
say
last 5 minutes
it.
because
You
I'm
say
not
it.
present because I have to sing over it. So what you're talking about, this whole spiritual, it's there. It's there right now with this relationship in my life, and it's so intense all the time. Like, you know, I spend time with friends, and you know, I'm open to other people right now, and it's like beautiful and easy, and I'm really clear. And then I'm back with this lover of mine that I've had in my life for a year, and it's just like all these gross, terrible things come up in me. And talk about a conscious person, he's always just like, like he'll just let me go on and go into like the darkest parts of me, and he's just like, I'm here. Whenever you want to come back, I'll be here. I don't know where you are right now, and I'll be here. So there's that piece where it's like I feel more like I get that, and I feel really loved by him, and yet it's like all this stuff comes up, which doesn't seem that great. It's like my mind can rationalize that it's a terrible relationship, and he's making me. It's not that he is, but something in me is coming out. It doesn't really resonate. But then I look at like how open he is and how receiving, and how he could let this relationship go. Anytime I've like gone crazy and like I'm ending this, he won't give me this and this and this that I made me love would look like, and he's just like okay, and that infuriates me. It infuriates me. It's like you were talking about the game. Like it's just like you're not gonna be angry. You're not gonna feel hurt. And he's like, of course not. Like I will always feel connected to you. I always feel love for you. And so like hearing that, I'm just like always confused.
Well, that's what's so cool about it, is that by somebody holding space for you, then you can go ahead and go through the confusion in peace, because behind the confusion is the clarity that you're looking for. It's going to come behind you allowing yourself to have all the feelings that you're having and everything that's coming up. But one of the things the Spirit told me to say to you was, bottom line is 2 things. How do you feel about him? And what is the relationship for? What's the purpose of it? So just, if you were to get clear, what do I really want? And that's what you're trying to find out. You know, what is it that you really want? Because see, what I've noticed, especially as I do a lot of counseling with people, is a lot of them say stuff like, I need to be in this relationship because if I don't learn it with this person, I'm just going to have to learn it with somebody else. So I'm just going to hang in this situation. And I always say to them, but do you love them? What? Do you love them? And it's like what? It's like I heard you say everything, but I'm in love with this person. And don't forget that. You know, do you love him? Are you in love with him? And you know the answer. Which isn't the same as, yes, he's a nice person, yes, he's a good person, yes, he's holding space, all of that. But are you in love with him? Do you feel inspired? Do you feel turned on? Do you feel excited? How do you feel with him? Listen, it has nothing to do with him. Because none of the unhappiness that you're feeling has anything to do with him, ultimately. But it's beautiful that he's holding space for you like that. That's cool. But bottom line is, how do you feel? And you don't have to answer that right now. I'm just sharing thoughts that to take with you, that if you think about it, it will help you get more to that clarity that you that's why you're feeling confused. Because a person isn't confused when they're sure about what they want. Because when you're sure about what you want, it's easy for you to evaluate a situation as to whether or not you're moving toward what you want or moving away from what you want. And a lot of times I've used the example of tonight, if you were sure you wanted to come here and someone said to you, let's go to the movie, would you really have been confused? No. Why? Because you knew you wanted to come here. So you said, no, I'll go to the movie with you another night. So when people are confused, many times it simply means they don't know, they don't have a clear sense of purpose about what they want and why they're in the relationship. Or you would be clear about whether to move away or whether to move toward him. Now, if he's not attacking you and he's holding space for you, then there's no rush. You can just let yourself continue to see what it is you really want, feel okay about being temporarily in your confusion, and then you will come to the conclusion about what it is you want. So to me, you love yourself. You love yourself enough to attract somebody to you that holds space for you and is not attacking you, who says they'll be there for you no matter what you decide. That sounds like love to me. Even if you decide that the form of the relationship would not be that you are like lover partners. If the form might be, I've decided that we need to be really good friends. But you still have the relationship. And that's what's real. It's the relationship, not the form. Not the form. Not the, I'm your girlfriend, I'm your boyfriend. That changes, that's not real. What's real is, will you all still be like holding space for each other, wanting the best for each other, trustworthy with each other, safe with each other? You see what I'm saying? That's what you want. That's what's real. So now you're getting a chance to find out what that is without having to make any decision right now. It's not like him saying, I'll give you 3 days and you need to make up a decision about is me or what. You know, what I hear you saying is the person is you're able to go off, feel all your feelings, be as confused and freaked out as you want to be, and they're saying, okay, I hear you, I'm here for you. But see, you wouldn't have a person like that in your life if you didn't love yourself. So that's proof that you love yourself, right there. Is that you're not in a relationship with a person that's attacking you and putting the guilt trip on you while you are deciding what works for you right now. So, is that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Most of us are surrounded by love and don't know it because we weren't brought up like that. So we can be right with somebody that's loving us and absolutely miss it. Be right with somebody that's loving us and don't even be turned on by it. Why? Because they're not making me feel guilty enough to feel passion. Because my passion is associated with where I don't get what I want, not where I do. That's a big change when you get to the point that you are turned on by what you can have and what's available. That's a big turning point because most people can't do it. That when they're with someone that really is safe, there is no polarity. There is no passion, you know. But the person that's unavailable or giving you a hard time, you got that. You know what I'm saying? Jake the motorcycle killer. Jake. I got my leather jacket on order right now. I would walk in the door and somebody say, hey, Earl, I'm like, go to hell! Then they'd be like, go out with me, go out with me. Anybody else before I go further? Yes.
So say you know that your definition of what you experience as being like a loving relationship is completely wrong because of the way you grew up, you know, and like what you recognize as being love is a result of like your parents, and you've done enough therapy to realize that. Like, so you realize your definitions are like completely off, and what you experience as one thing is really another thing. Like, then what's the next step?
is to go with what you're recognizing is the truth. Like if you got to the point that you can see through the illusion of it all, then the direction to go in is the direction of the truth that you're realizing. You see what I'm saying? Like you just explained to me that you thought it was one thing, but you realize it's another thing, right? Okay, then you go with what you realize. You go in the direction of your heart. You go in the direct. See, the once you kind of start seeing this through this illusion that we're all in, then you realize that everything really doesn't make any difference ultimately, because you're going to get the same. You're going to get your lesson through everything. You're going to get the same, which is ultimately how can I love myself more, and how can I be an instrument of love more. That's what everybody's going to end up realizing, and everybody can give you that experience of learning. So then what happens is you follow the path of heart. Then you go, what can I get my heart into? You know, I get all these choices. What is it that I feel inspired by? What is it that makes me feel much more inner peace to go in that direction? Which usually takes a certain amount of courage, because sometimes it'll seem like you're going against everything that you were taught or everything that you were programmed. And that is a bridge that all true students have to cross sooner or later. It's that bridge of, am I going to be the one that says the world is round when everybody else is saying it's flat? And am I going to be able to deal with the fallout from that? You know what I'm saying? And that's why you want to make sure you don't do it alone. That's why you want to make sure you have support groups, support people, other people in your life that's also trying to move in a new direction. And that makes it easier, and not beat yourself up so much about going against the programming that you might have had. And also, it's a great time to be quiet. Because what most people do to make those transitions challenging, especially with their families, is that they start to try to explain. Just like what he was saying earlier, you want to convince, you want to defend, you want to, and the more you do it, then the more attack you draw to you. Where actually, if you just breathe, didn't say anything, continually acknowledge what it is about them that you appreciate, you would just smoothly go right into the other reality without dealing with a whole lot of attack. And so that's the challenging part, is for people to be quiet while they're in transformation. And most people won't do that. They won't be quiet. They'll feel the need to try to explain what they're going through. You know, so continue to follow what you are beginning to recognize as the truth. And if you do it, you'll find that Spirit will make that a smoother transition for you. It won't even be you having to do that all by yourself. You know. So hope that was helpful.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, good.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I think you might have just answered it over that, but one of the impediments for myself is sadness over a relationship that didn't work, and all the character defects that I had that helped co-create the end was ugly. It was very ugly. And I was in something like what she was explaining, and I got replaced by somebody else. But and I'm willing to let go of the victimhood, like she was speaking of. But what do you have clues to, almost on a level of being, or probably on a level of codependence, is my sadness of what I did wrong to make it end that way, and because of what I didn't know, what I do know now, from coming here and taking a look at my part.
Right, that's what so you're being willing to take responsibility for what looked like happened to you is what you do to guarantee that the next relationship that's better suited for who you are now, you'll be able to really appreciate it and really enjoy it. It's not about how can I go back and make up for what didn't happen in the other relationship. It's what relationship now can I have that's more of a reflection of who I am now, where I'm valued as who I am right now. Your ego is just hanging on to the guilt to make you feel separate from God and separate from love. One of the most interesting things I like to throw out to people is this. Someone most relationships, you come together, you have an intense teaching learning situation, you learn as much as you can from each other at a time, and then you appear to separate. That's normal. It's only in our warped society, in the way that we've learned, that we try to make people feel like every relationship is supposed to be a lifelong relationship, even though there's absolutely no evidence that that is true. That's the funny part about it. There's no evidence that that's true. If you were to be honest, you'd have to admit that most people don't have lifelong relationships with everybody they meet. The vast majority of us have not had lifelong relationships. So why isn't that normal? Why isn't that seen as normal instead of seen as that means I'm a relationship failure? I tell you why. Because it keeps the sense of separation and guilt and fear and the ego going, which is that ego is the part of us that wants to tell us we're not enough, we can never be happy, and that we're a victim. So it's okay to grieve a relationship, because when it ends, that is a form of death. And you do go through the stages of grief. And don't beat yourself up because you're feeling sad about that right now. That's normal. You feel sad, then you tell yourself, I created it. Then you tell yourself, I'm thankful I have the power to create and I'm not a victim. And then you say, I'm still as God created me. I am still loving, I'm still powerful, I'm still valuable. And you also, as you begin to love yourself more, you will be glad to let go of someone who doesn't recognize your value. And it just means that other person that it looks like they replaced you with, that's just the person that they need to learn their lessons with now, who's more matched to their patterns right now. And if you've been working on yourself and you've been growing like you're doing, then let yourself receive the love that you deserve based on where you are right now. Because you've been working on yourself, you've been changing your thoughts, well then let this universe draw somebody to you now who really appreciates who you are right now, rather than how can I get somebody who's already chosen something else to want me. Thank you for saying that, because I need to let go of some relationships too. So thank you for reminding me to remind myself of that. And we'll both throw a power party about it being gone. You know what I'm saying? You're on a new level of consciousness. Let somebody who really can value you how you are right now come to you instead of spending another second thinking about somebody who doesn't see you. He doesn't see you. You know, and so don't worry about him. You don't even want somebody who don't see you. He just doesn't see you because he's looking at his pattern. He's looking at all the women he had before you. The Course in Miracles says, I love it, he says, we just live in a world of our own perception that we don't even see the people around us. All we see is our own perception. And then he says, how do you know you're not really seeing anybody around you? Because people don't know what's going on inside of you until you tell them. That's how you know you living in your own little personal world, because you got to tell people about what's going on in it. Where if it was really something real, everybody would see it. So he doesn't see you, darling. And he's innocent and you're innocent. And don't let spirit create for you the person in your life that would help you still remember that you're the one that's creating the way that you're feeling. That all the sadness that you feel is coming from the meaning that you're giving to it, and not through him replacing you, and not through any other person. The only reason why we feel sad is what we're telling ourselves about the situation. So your sadness isn't coming from the loss of the relationship. Your sadness is coming from what you're telling yourself about the loss of the relationship, which is a form of punishment for yourself. Because a part of you desires to feel bad in order to validate the idea that you're not enough. Follow that? If I have an idea that I'm not enough, then I'm going to use that to validate that by saying I was replaced by somebody else. So really, the sadness is coming from me wanting the validation that I'm not enough. And then you're in a room full of people and me telling you are enough, right? So now you have two choices. You can join me with you are enough, or you can join the perception that says you're not enough. And that's where we all are every minute. We're always getting a chance to choose, am I going to go with the new thought that we are studying, or am I going to still go with the old thought that I've been telling myself all my life? And that's the choice. Like the course says, choose once again, choose once again, choose once again, choose once again, choose. And people think they just need to choose once. And then you have to choose moment to moment. You have to choose every time you get unhappy. You have to choose again, choose again. You know, so now you love yourself so much that you have witnesses that we want you to choose for your peace. Does everybody here want her to choose for her peace? Would y'all like her to choose to recognize her value?
Yep.
Okay, so you love yourself enough that there's a group of people that's saying, we want you to choose for your peace. Okay? And make me cry too. Yeah. Then we get a chance to go, okay, who am I gonna go with? You know, that lousy bastard. I mean, that holy son of God, child of spirit.
Upgrades.
Yeah.
Upgrades.
Or are we gonna
Getting an
upgrade? Or are we gonna upgrade?
Well, on the lighter side, my relationship with my children has become as good as it's been.
There you go.
Congratulations.
Beautiful. That's what you want to do.
That's
You
what
want to
I
go.
want.
You want to be.
Want it.
All right.
All
Okay.
along.
All right. Where is it that I am allowing myself to feel validated? Now, I don't like the word validated. Where is it that I am allowing myself to recognize how valuable I am? You know, because it really doesn't have it. Okay, optimum level. I totally feel great about myself even if my children don't ever speak to me for the rest of my life. I totally feel great about myself if I never have another boyfriend till the day I die. I totally feel great about myself if I never have a job. I feel great about myself if I have a job. I feel great about myself if I'm broke as a dog. I feel great about myself if I'm rich as I can be. I feel great about myself if I never have sex. I feel great about myself if I have sex. I feel great about myself if I weigh 900 pounds. I feel great about myself if I weigh 50. That's the ultimate level that we're trying to get to, where it is nothing outside of ourselves that determines how we feel about ourselves. So every time we go, if my children feel good about me, then I feel good about me. That is wonderful that that's happening. But the optimum level of consciousness is I feel centered and strong within myself, whether or not my children, because your children are going to only see what they want to see based on their beliefs. That has nothing to do with you. So you see what I'm saying? Your children have their beliefs just like you have your beliefs. So therefore, if you set it up where your children have to approve of you for you to feel good about yourself, that's still the same trap as if the boyfriend needs to feel good. And actually, in a way, the people who seem to approve of you are even a bigger trap than the people who don't approve of you. Because the people who don't, you really get real quick that I got to feel good about myself no matter what. The people who say that they're approving of you, it's even easier to have the point of view that it's important that somebody validate me in order to be okay. It's like, I love this, there's some motion picture stars that'll say, I never read the reviews. And they say, but you got a great review. You say, yeah, but if I believe a good review, I'm going to have to believe a bad review.
Yeah.
So I don't deal with any reviews, whether they're good reviews or bad reviews. That's a great spiritual message for all of us, you know, because you can get addicted to the good review, and then when someone gives you a bad review, then you freak out, you know. So if you're a person right now that's getting a lot of bad reviews, that's kind of good, because that will automatically make you want to go to that space where I'm going to have to feel good about myself. When I'm getting bad reviews. But if you're getting a whole lot of good reviews, then and you're buying into it, like I really must be good because everybody's saying I'm good. Then soon as somebody give you a bad review, then you're on a psychiatrist's couch. You know, so all of the so-called negative stuff, that's really a grist for the meal. It's really a gift. I see people drop their spiritual practice faster when things start going good for them than I ever see people drop their spiritual practice because they're having challenges. Every time. They come to a class till things start to change for the better, which is why they came to the class in the first place, or doing their study until things start getting better, and it's like they act like it's a Excedrin pill that you take for a headache. I got a headache, I take a pill, now I don't need the Excedrin no more. I had a lousy relationship, I was miserable, I came to a few classes, I felt better, I don't need it anymore. That
I
is,
had the opposite
you
experience.
know, which is,
I relapsed, so I stopped coming to class.
yeah, Right. Well, yeah, the relapse can be the perfect excuse not to come.
Yeah.
Right. If this stuff works so good, why did I have a relapse? You know what I'm saying? So that's when you need to do it the most. When you're most upset and you're most miserable is when you need to do this the most. And when things are going great, you need to do it even more.
Yeah.
You need to do it even more. But my relationship is going great. Well, make sure you study more now, because you will get lost in the effect and then forget to do the cause. It's like filling up a car and then driving it without ever putting any more gas in it. So it's driving fine, even when it's down to 1/4 of a tank, right? Then when you run out, the car stops and you're freaking out, stranded somewhere. That's the way it is when you build all this good energy up, start to get some positive things happen, no longer study and meditate and read, but live off that energy until it peters out, and then you crash and you go, what happened? Well, you didn't continue to feed yourself what you fed yourself to create the transformation that you were going through that you loved. You chucked that out because now I got the guy, or I got the girl, or I got the job. Not only that, not only do I stop doing my spiritual practice, I just want to try to live their life now. It's about what he wants and what she wants. And can you feel me? Can anybody feel me? Before you know it, poof, it's all about him, it's all about her. So don't fall in love with the shadow. Remember, you can't see a shadow unless there's something blocking the light. So it's got to be something blocking the light for you to see the shadow. So don't get lost in the effects, is what I'm saying.
You're saying
right
the shadows are sneaky?
I'm saying that you only can see the shadow because the light is being blocked.
So they're kind of sneaky.
So when you're in the dark, you're in the shadow. That means that there's something that you're thinking or doing that's blocking your joy. You're actually in the shadow when you're miserable. And so your ego says, deal with the shadow. Instead of saying, what is it that's producing the shadow? That's who I need. That's what I need to find out. Oh, it's my hand being up. Instead of me looking at this, oh, it's my hand. And this way we do it. Oh, it's you. Oh, it's you. We don't go, oh, it's my hand. We go, oh, the shadow is falling on you. So it's you. You the shadow. You the problem. So let's acknowledge ourselves for hearing this much Holy God. Woo! I appreciate you coming to these light Tuesday night classes. And so let's do the financial expression of appreciation. Thank you as a full-time teacher. I appreciate what you share on the internet. Thank you for what you share with me. You can go to my website at earlpurdy.com if you want to make a financial expression of appreciation. And I'm available for personal one-on-one sessions called Clarity Sessions. If you go to my website, earlpurdy.com, then you can get all the details and I can work with you on the one-on-one level if you get past the blocks. Thank you for being generous with me. Thank you for realizing I am you.
Thank you for teaching us, Earl.
Oh, I'm teaching myself too, buddy.
I know.
It's not a thing that anybody brings up in this room that's not for my healing as well as the person that's saying it.
So when
probably most of y'all noticed that anything anybody brought up was something you could relate to. And that's how you know. That's how you know. Okay. All right, so let me do a quick wrap up before we go out. Let me do a quick review before we go out. So what I'd like you to do is to just sit back for a second and allow yourself to just receive and integrate and listen for a minute. Okay? Close your eyes. If you don't mind, close your eyes. Take a minute to breathe. Go ahead and pass the bag. I want you to go into that deep of a meditation. Okay.
Everybody's got to eat, right?
Spiritual teachers have to pay rent and eat too.
Yeah.
I know it's not a popular conception that happens, but we actually need the same thing that everybody else does. And God, if y'all haven't noticed, God gives to us through things, people, places, events. I love how the Course says, give what you want to receive. What you want to receive if you share in the world. And most people would say yes, they would. They get through working all week, they get very upset if the boss said, "We just really appreciate what you did."
Thank you very much.
I've got the verbal tip a few times.
You know,
in
you
my
know,
line
you
of
know what
work.
I'm saying?
I've
But,
got
you know,
it.
it's like, but somehow I'm different. I don't know why, but I'm seeing this different. I don't need what anybody else does. Okay, so thank you so much. I'm sustained by the love of God, and so are you. Absolutely. All right, so close your little sweet, juicy eyes that people love you for. I don't need the truth, I have my eyes. I'm just going to pray for some more eyes. So I'll come here next week with 5 eyes. And 3 butts. People like my butt too, so I'll pray for more butt. All right, let's get into this serious meditation. All right, so when you leave out of here, remind yourself that if you are feeling more pain, it doesn't mean that you are spiritually failing. It may mean that you're waking up so much that you simply can't tolerate the things you used to let yourself tolerate. Also, as much as you can, don't feel like you should defend your new way of thinking, or you feel a need to explain it. Let go of your need to convince, and just ask yourself when someone is talking, even if they're saying something that sounds like a bunch of call for love, that you say, I'm looking for the gem in this. I'm looking for the jewel in this. Holy Spirit, what is the lesson for me to get out of what they're saying? Also, remember tonight that we were told that there is nothing more powerful than desire. That everything in our experience is coming from our desire. So when you leave here tonight, ask yourself, what do I really want? What do I really desire? And realize that a true desire will always inspire you. A true desire will motivate you into action. So if you say you want something and you feel no impotence at all to move on that, ask yourself if that's truly what you desire. And then if you really are ready to play big, ask your higher self, Holy Spirit, to decide for you, and then stay open to the answer coming from any direction. And if it doesn't occur, be willing to say, it's for my own best interest. I do not perceive my own best interest in this situation. I place my future in the hands of God. I place my future in the hands of love. I am entitled to miracles. You are entitled to miracles. And you bless the world every time you bless yourself. So there. So you acknowledge yourself, God. Thank you for coming out and helping me grow tonight. Just do it up one more time. 1 o'clock on Sunday, Course of Miracles. Love to see you at the class. I love you. See you soon.
Thanks, Earl.
You're welcome. I know it might take you a minute to get out the chair.
That was good.
I know that was intense, wasn't it?
I've seen you for a minute, man.
Take a call, brother. It's good to see you too.
I got you.